Hey guys, welcome to a new video, and in this one we're going to be talking about Group A ETFs because it is Group A's distribution week, and in the distribution weeks people seem to like to buy those ETFs to try and get the distribution or the dividend for that week. Or some people like myself, I prefer the strategy of buying on ex-dividend day because that's when the distribution is essentially taken out of the share price, and so you kind of get a discounted share price, if you like. And the reason I like to do that is because it keeps my average cost price down, psychological thing, and then when I come to potentially sell that ETF later on, I'm seemingly more in profit, and I just prefer to have a lower average cost price for my ETFs that I'm holding, all my YieldMax ETFs. So the big ones in this are TSLY is probably the big guy in Group A. I'll just show you what I hold in Group A just to give you an idea of where I sit. YBIT is one of my big positions, and TSLY. I'm not a huge fan of Group A, to be completely honest. It's probably my least favorite group out of all the groups of YieldMax, simply because I don't believe in them as much as some of the other larger ETFs. So I'm more bullish on MISTI, PLTY, SMCY, even FIVY, than I am on TSLY, YBIT, or some of the others in Group A. So, but I do have positions in TSLY, YBIT. I've been holding off on TSLY because of the drama of Elon and all that stuff that's been going on with Doge and all that fighting between Trumpy and Elon last week. That was crazy volatility. So I actually did get back into it because I do believe that it is a pretty good buy. I kind of do believe in Tesla long term. I think about the technology, the AI, the robotics, not just the e-cars, but they've got a lot going on. And I think that long term, it's a good bet. So I have started to buy, and I think anything under $8 is a good buy for TSLY. So I've started getting back into it simply because it had that 15% drawdown from all that like Twitter stuff going on between Trump and Elon. They were just bashing each other. And I think a lot of it was kind of for show. They've all deleted the Twitter posts now and all that sort of stuff. So I don't know what that was about. But anyway, the Tesla stock absolutely tanked like 15%. So TSLY obviously followed because that's the underlying. And so I started getting in at around 775, 785, made a couple of buys. And then MISTI and SMCY I've bought this week as well, just because I'm bullish on those two, along with PLTY and NVIDIA, probably my favorite funds, as you'll see from that previous week's buys. But anyway, this week we're talking about Group A, so let's get into that. Actually, before we get into that, I just want to talk about Bitcoin, because we have had a big pump over the past 12, 24 hours. I think it's gone from, what was it, 105, I think, yesterday, and it's now at 109, 110. It hit 110. It's gone back down, but that's obviously good news for all your Bitcoin-related ETFs, MISTI, Coney, LFGY, Maro, and also YBIT in Group A. So that's good news. And look, I've also got in yellow here is the global liquidity M2 supply. And as I've talked about in my previous videos, there seems to be, people will say, not me, this isn't financial advice, but an 80 to 85% correlation rate between the Bitcoin price action and M2 global liquidity. So if you marry these up, with a time lag, this is 70-day, but it could also be 80 to 85. There's between 70 and 90 days. It takes time for liquidity to come into the market and go into risk assets to then affect the price of risk assets like Bitcoin. But if you see, it's lining up pretty nicely. And as you can see, M2 global liquidity has been absolutely pumping and is still kind of going up, and China's printing money. So it's looking good for your MISTIs, your Coins, all your Bitcoin related ETFs. I think there's going to be a bigger pump. We're going to hit 115, 120K soon. So just something to bear in mind. I'm pretty bullish on it, as you know, if you've seen my previous videos. But MISTI has not been traded. They did have distribution week last week. It came down. It's still around $20 to $1. So for Bitcoin to be almost at all-time highs and MISTI to still be trading around the $21 mark, not great, but I still believe it will do well for the second half of this year. But anyway, onto Group A. Yeah, so these are the ETFs. I've talked about what I hold, which is mainly YBIT and TSLY, and then obviously you've got your weeklies in there. But let's start off with distribution rates, because that's what everyone first kind of looks at when they're looking to invest in these funds, because most people enter into these funds because they want to make an income. They want the distributions that come with it. Same for myself. Right, so this is Group A by distribution rate. So CRSH actually has crazy high return of 100%. TSLY is second, 76. SNOY, YBIT, or TSMY. I mean, these are okay, but actually, if you compare these to some of the better YieldMax ETFs, they're not that great. I mean, CRSH at 100% is really good, but then its share price just is all over the place and tends to track downwards quite a lot of the time. TSLY is probably my biggest bet in this group, and then SNOY. Actually, I'm not in SNOY. I haven't invested any money into SNOY, but you know, that's something we're going to touch on now, because it's not all about distributions. Obviously, you've got to take total return into consideration. If you invest $10,000, what's your total return going to be at the end of that year? So I like to look at the year, because I think that gives a good amount of information. You know, you can't just do a month, because then one fund might have had a bad month, like the Elon stuff with Tesla. It's just had a terrible month because they've been bickering. And so Tesla stock's down like 15% at the moment. So I think to take a year is a pretty good summary of how that fund's doing. So actually, when you look at a year's perspective, if you take distribution and share price, so the total return into consideration, it's SNOY, which is the leader from Group A, plus 56%. TSLY second, plus 27%. OARC, YBIT, TSMY. There's only those five. The other five are down. They're in the red. And these 56%, SNOY winning, but it's not that great. If you look at Misty, it's above 100%. PLTY above 100%. You know, there are better funds in YieldMax than these. But I know that some people like to have at least one from each group, and it is Group A this week. So that's why we're kind of going into it. And I do think TSLY has had a rough year, so I think that could have potentially been more. I mean, look at share price. TSLY's in the light blue here, and you'll see there it was up. But let's look at that. It was up 83% before things just start. He went into Doge, the government stuff, politics. TSLY's tanking. So I actually think TSLY's quite a good buy still. But TSLY and SNOY look like the ones to me that I would be looking to get into. But if we do a little bit more research, what do they look like in terms of their target prices? What's the analyst saying? So if we start off with Tesla, obviously it's been having a bit of a rough time, but analysts actually seem to be a little bit mixed on this one. Possibly a lot going on with drama with Elon. And it's actually a neutral buy. It's not a buy, it's not a sell, it's neutral. We've got 20 analysts saying it's a strong buy, 11 saying it's a strong sell, so it kind of sits in the middle. It's hitting the target share price right now. 308 is the target, and that's what it's sitting at right now. It's got a max at 500, and I personally am more on the bullish side of this. I think that once the drama kind of dissipates away from Elon and all the Trump stuff, I think that the fundamentals of Tesla and what it's doing in technology and its offerings, I think will come more to the forefront, and I think it will tend to be pretty good. So that's why under the $8 price for the Tesla ETF, I've been buying in at that 770, 780 mark. Any time that because there's so much volatility with Tesla and Elon, because it goes down quite a lot, it then comes back up quite a bit. I mean, I bought in at 775 yesterday, and let's just go to the charts and we'll just do it by symbol, and so we'll go, and it's already at 832. So I bought in. Let's just do 1 month. All right. Like this. So I bought in, around here, 775. It was all kicking off, Trumpy against Elon, all that sort of stuff. And it already rose, a few percent back up to 832. So it's really, there's a lot of opportunity when that volatility kicks in to kind of get a good entry price, and for it to then just as soon as I think they deleted their tweets, so it's gone back up. But anyway, I still believe that TSLY around that $8, anything under $8 around that mark is a really good entry price. I mean, if we look on the chart a bit further along, I'm just going to take this global liquidity thing off just to make it a bit clearer. And you can see that it was down and then it's been recovering, went from 7 to 9.50, so increased $2.50. And then obviously all that stuff kicked off between Trump and Musk. But, you know, it was on the road to recovery, and I still think it will from here. So I still think this is a pretty good entry price, even though the analysts are saying neutral. I think it's quite a good buying opportunity, at least for me for the long term. I aim to hold these funds for a long time. I want to keep earning the distributions from them on a monthly basis. So my plan is not to sell unless it's for Bitcoin related ETFs, because that's more cyclical. That has a very strong bull market and bear market. And so I will be getting out of the Bitcoin ETFs when that Bitcoin market hits the euphoria levels, as I've talked about in the past. But for the rest of them, for the tech stuff, for your Teslas, your SMCIs, your Palantirs, I'm going to stay in them probably long term unless something crazy happens. But the other opportunity is SNOY. So Snowflake is essentially a data storage company. I don't know too much about it, and I don't hold any of SNOY, of the Snowflake underlying stock either. But it is a buy according to the analysts, and it's trading at 210 at the moment. This is the underlying stock of Snowflake, obviously trading at 210 with a target of 230 with a max of 440. So they're saying there's quite a big opportunity for Snowflake as the underlying stock of SNOY, and they're in AI, so they're in that tech AI data storage space. So as you can see, 36 analysts saying strong buy and only one saying strong sell. So if there was a bet, I mean, the distribution isn't great. Let's go back to, where is it? Distribution, 63%. It's pretty good. You know, normally you would say that's an amazing distribution rate. But when you've got your PLTYs, your SMCYs, your MISTIs paying around the 80 to 100% mark, then it doesn't look quite as attractive. But then because of its stability, let's just have a go with this SNOY. And we'll go... like it started at the $20. This is also its all time, and it's gone down, up, down, up. It's pretty volatile, so it makes that good income, and then it's down a couple of dollars. So I think that's a pretty good bet considering we've just been in that real bad dip. So you've also got to take into account that kind of crash, if you like, from all the tariff chaos of when everything. So this is kind of what it was trading at, and then tariff chaos, and then it's recovered to a certain amount. It's gone from 13 to 17, so that's pretty good. And I would say that there's still room for recovery here to get back to where it was after, you know, we're seeing all that tariff stuff kind of go away a little bit, so to speak. So that should recover a little bit more. So I would be, yeah, I think those would be my two big plays. I may even consider getting into SNOY on ex-dividend day on Thursday, depending on what the distribution amount comes out. If let's go back, so SNOY is currently trading at 17.65. No idea what it's going to pay. Say it's like 70 cents. It comes down below the $17 mark, maybe around 16, maybe around here. Could be a good entry because I do think it will recover. So yeah, SNOY and TSLY, they would be my two bets or my two options to buy into for Group A. Whether you want to buy them and try and get the dividend for this week is up to you. I personally don't do that. I like to buy when the distribution comes out on ex-dividend date, and then I keep my average cost price as low as possible, as you'll see over here. So my TSLY, this actually isn't updated June. So my TSLY average price was $12.75, but I've made a few purchases of around that under $7 mark, and it's now about $10.50, I think it is. So I'm going to keep DCAing into it when it's low, get my average cost prices down. I've got my MISTI is now below 25. This isn't updated. It's around 24 now. And yeah, so that's what I would do. YBIT, now, YBIT I would say is probably, I do hold YBIT, but I don't. But I haven't bought into it for a long time, simply because I think there's better Bitcoin ETFs around. Misty, I think pretty much all of them are better than YBIT. I think Misty's better. I think LFGY is better. I think Coney's better. I think Marrow's probably better, even though I don't hold it. And so that's why, if you look at the return, it's plus 17% after a year. It's just not. It doesn't have the volatility that the other stuff. It doesn't have the volatility of MicroStrategy. It doesn't have the volatility of Moral Holdings. It doesn't have the volatility of what of the LFGY holdings have. So it doesn't have that income. It doesn't have that distribution level. So if we go back to the distributions, YBIT's on 56%, whereas like Misty, Marrow, even Coney is nearer the 100% level. And so it doesn't have the upside opportunity or the distribution amount because it has lower volatility, but at the same time, it probably has less downside. So there is that risk when you go for the more volatile funds, is that you're probably playing into a bit more downside as well. Like when Misty hits that euphoria level, or Bitcoin hits that euphoria level and it's trading at a decent amount, when it then suddenly hits and goes into a bear market, Misty's going to tank pretty hard, in my opinion. So I'm going to be looking to get out of it. Whereas YBIT will probably tank less because it's less volatile. It's it's not leveraged against Bitcoin as much as MicroStrategy is a leveraged Bitcoin play, essentially. Almost trade, trying to get gains of 2 times the Bitcoin price. So for me, I don't buy into YBIT anymore, simply because I just don't see it as having the upside or the opportunity or the distribution of the other Bitcoin ETFs. TSLY is probably the one I'm most bullish on, but this seems like a good opportunity, SNOY at the moment. Looks like there's good upside opportunity. Research seems to suggest that it's in data storage, AI, all that sort of stuff that's only going to do well over the next year or so. So I would potentially look at getting into that one. And the rest, I wouldn't bother, but that's up to you. Do your own research. And that's what it boils down to. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just a dude sitting behind a computer. Please do your own research. Definitely not financial advice. But that's just my thoughts on this. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Let me know in the comments, and please hit the like and subscribe. And if there's anything you'd like me to talk about, any new video ideas you'd like me to cover, please let me know in the comments as well. And I will see you in the next one. Cheers.